Every year on the 18th of July, we honor the global icon by touching the lives of those around us. 800 registered actions will take place in over 73 countries in what has been dubbed Nelson Mandela International Day. Here to talk about some of the actions that the Nelson Mandela Foundation will be undertaking is the Director of Research and Archives, Verne Harris. Verne, good morning, welcome.
Morning.
You know, if there's somebody that doesn't understand what Nelson Mandela Day is, let's clear the air right now, just to give them a sense. We've seen the ads, and yet I think there might be people that don't know what the call to action is for.
Yeah, look, I think it's basically about taking responsibility for our communities. In other words, to look for areas of need and honoring Madiba by finding ways to assist, to support, and to specifically reach out to people who are less privileged.
We saw the president in the State of the Nation address talk about Nelson Mandela Day and offering up your 67 minutes, but he was quite specific. He talked about us getting into a spirit of being clean and cleaning up our areas, cleaning up our cities. Is that something that, message from him, that's part of your message this year?
Well,
I think whatever you want to do?
It's whatever you want to do. The beauty of the concept of Mandela Day is it's not prescriptive. Nobody's telling you what you need to do. You need to understand the needs of your own community and look for inventive ways of addressing those needs. This year we are emphasizing 3 themes, okay, which link in a way to the government's call to cleanliness. One is food security. Second is huge. The second one is shelter. And the third one is literacy and education.
And it's amazing how if you don't have those 3 things, you have an unstable society.
Well, I think
it's critical to...
You've put your finger on it, is that the subtext to Mandela Day is that in a well-functioning democracy, these things should be looked after by society. The fact that they're not means that something needs to be fixed. And this is a symbolic way of drawing attention to these issues. It's just unacceptable that so many South Africans live in poverty. For
sure, and food security has been coming up. It's now doing the rounds on radio stations, newspapers. It's been around for a while, but I think there's a serious impetus around it now and a movement to understand what it means. In terms of the exploitation of the brand, I mean, there's a lot of people talking about being exploited, having to pay to be part of Nelson Mandela Day. Clear the issue up first around that.
Look, I think there is always a danger of a campaign, of a project being drawn into commercial dimensions. And for, especially big corporations to be associated with the campaign does give them certain advantage in terms of advertising and so on. It's implicit. We do have an ethical framework, and we ask anybody participating to subscribe to that. But it remains a tension that we have to deal with.
Yeah. The commercialization, have you seen a lot of these issues coming, landing on your desk, people complaining about it?
Yeah. Projects that are ostensibly about Mandela Day actually turn out to be ways of making money. Have an event, have a concert, have a party, and a range of people make money out of that.
Talk to me about just the foundation and making sure that, and I'm glad that you talked about it, because it really is about preserving the legacy of Tata Madiba, isn't it?
Well, I think this year is unique in that it's the first one after his passing. So there's a dimension of remembering Madiba. And the message that we're giving to South Africans especially, but to people around the world, is that let's remember Madiba by showing that the work continues. The legacy will live on.
What are some of the events and initiatives that, as a foundation, that you're personally endorsing as an organization and that you'll be taking part in?
Well, look, any project.
You've got 800 registered.
Yeah, as they get registered, that's a form of endorsement. We're involved in a whole range of other ones in various ways. Our organization, our staff on the 18th will be working with an organization called Stop Hunger Now, which will be packing food parcels for disadvantaged communities.
We've also seen the flame being lit in Kunu, and that, of course, started was the signal for the start of Madiba Month. Any Any other things of that kind of significance happening anywhere else in the world? We know that there's statues and busts all over the world of Madiba.
Yeah. Yeah, we could talk about what Madiba thought about statues of himself. But I think one worth noting is the United Nations, because of course it's International Day for the United Nations, and this year they've announced that there will be an international prize in Madiba's name. It's being launched in July. Yeah.
Do you have any more details related to what the prize is and categories, or what it will represent?
That's still being discussed, yeah.
Okay. Now, we always talk about donating 67 minutes, but I mean, one of the things that I think Madiba was quite vocal about is that it has to start with a little bit of time, but we need these things, these events to continue throughout the year.
Yeah, look, I think it's about building cultures of service, but right at the heart of Mandela Day is this awareness that our society is still deeply divided, and that the haves and the have-nots don't see how the other lives and the challenges, especially for the haves. And so here is a way of breaking down that alienation, forcing people to see how most South Africans have to live and struggle. And hopefully that builds an awareness and a consciousness which will lead to change.
We've seen some interesting events, interesting ways of celebrating Madiba's life, 67 minutes, whether it's erecting whatever. But one of the interesting things that caught my ear was, I was listening to radio the other day, there's a knitting project where people can knit blankets.
Yes.
Are you aware of that? Are you part of it?
We're not part of it. We know about it. It's especially good that men are knitting. That's a fundamental alienation.
I used to knit. I can knit long scarves. You know, one of the other things that we also want to talk about, the interesting thing this year is also, as you mentioned and you alluded to it, that it's the first time that we're celebrating International Mandela Day without the icon himself. But we're not forgetting that in December it will also be the first year of his passing. How will the Nelson Mandela Foundation kind of share that with ordinary South Africans? I know, of course, it's a special moment for the family, but is there anything planned? That's what I'm asking.
We don't want to plan anything too big. In the same way that in the week after Madiba died, we didn't have plans. But spontaneously people came to us and we responded. We improvised day by day. And we want to be in that kind of mode. It's not clear how South Africans are going to be feeling in December this year. But what we are planning, a small thing, is tributes came in, as you can imagine, from all over the world.
Sure.
We have hundreds and hundreds of tribute books, cards. You remember outside the hospital people were putting up messages. Yeah. We went in every couple of days and collected those messages, and we've kept a beautiful selection of them. So we want to do an exhibition which we will invite the public to come and enjoy.
Okay, and that's just one of the many things that's possibly on the cards for the for the 5th of December, and of course on the day of his burial. There's also on the 8th of December, if memory serves correct, there's a National Day of Remembrance. Will that form a part of your commemoration?
We will link into all of those initiatives as required. We just want to do a small thing ourselves and not compete with others, because clearly it's primarily a moment for family, and it's a moment for nation, for our state.
Verne Harris, we're going to leave it there, but thank you very much for talking to me from the Nelson Mandela Foundation. He's the Director of Research and Archives. Verne Harris sharing what Nelson Mandela International Day is all about and what you should be doing on the 18th of July. For more information, you can log on to www.nelsonmandela.org, and there's some ideas. There are 800 registered actions happening on that day worldwide in 73 countries. That's pretty impressive.